Welcome everyone. My name is Kristen Cross. I am the Middle School PE Georgia Virtual Specialist. I am also a middle school physical education and health teacher. Today I just wanted to discuss some beginning of the year procedures and routines. Some of the important procedures and routines that I thought were important to discuss were the start of class, locker room expectations, roll call, how to start and end your classes, some class expectations, some things to think about, and some warm-up activities. At the start of my class period, my students will line up outside the locker room doors until they are opened by the teachers. Usually the students have some of the materials that they need for the next two classes because my students are able to use hallway lockers. Locker room procedures definitely take some time to develop and follow through on with your students. This really will depend on what your expectation is for dressing out. We are fortunate at my school to have a bell schedule that allows for 5 minutes in between classes. And that is about much time that we give our students in the locker rooms. Right now, we don't have the requirement for them to dress out for a grade, but we do highly encourage it. But not very many students are willing to change clothes for classes anymore. Our expectation is that they will come in, use the restroom if necessary, change shoes or clothes, lock their belongings up, and then have a seat and wait for dismissal. My colleagues and I came up with this locker room expectations chart. Our school uses these 4 words as our core expectations. So we talk about a champion being respectful, and so we kind of dive into it with the locker rooms. We say to, we're respectful of our voice volume, using self-control, respectful of other students' privacy and belongings, of the time they are given to change, like not taking a long time in a locker rooms. We say that a champion is responsible by having their PE clothes and shoes daily, by using their own locks. We do not allow students to share locks, and for their own hygienic practices. Champion is a solution by leading by example, helping others as needed, and again, being on time for roll call. A champion is an achiever by picking up around their area, being a problem solver if necessary, and to sit by their locker when they are ready. So this rubric really helps us with our expectations and the students knowing that this is what we basically are expecting from them. Once the 5 minutes has expired or the majority of our students are ready, we have them come out of the locker rooms and walk into the gym and have a seat on their attendance spot. Now, if you are fortunate enough to have multiple teachers, maybe you could have the students walk around the perimeter or walk in and do a different activity or an instant activity or something along those lines that may help them, socialize a little bit more and kind of keep a little more control on the crowd. But for our school, we just walk in and have a seat on our attendance spots. For attendance procedures, this is a personal preference for me, but I just find it easier to assign a roll call spot based on their alphabetical roster. And then once they are seated, I just can take 30 seconds to a minute to take attendance. Some teachers may find it easier to take attendance when students are in teams or in certain lines. To begin class, think of ways and areas to gather your students for instructions. My gymnasium has a center circle that I usually gather my students. Other areas could include sitting in front of a whiteboard or a portable screen, or even in some bleachers if you have them. At the end of class, it's really important to find ways to wrap up your classes and review. My students are expected to clean up quickly and join me at my meeting spot when classes end. and then they are dismissed to the locker rooms. I just find it's so much easier for transition if the students are calm and collected before being dismissed to the locker rooms. And it's also a great time just to review what we learned for the day. Another huge thing to decide upon is what your classroom expectations are going to be. Some colleagues and I designed this rubric, and this is what we use all the time, and it is language the students are familiar with. They know about being a champion and how they are respectful, responsible, a solution, and achiever. So they will see this language throughout the school, no matter where they are. So in our gymnasium, we talk about being respectful to their teachers and peers, to their equipment, and that includes playing fair whenever we are doing activities. They are responsible by including others, not excluding, using self-control, which is huge, especially in middle school, and using their leadership skills. A champion is a solution by trying new things, giving 100% all the time, and by following good leadership. And then the final champion is an achiever by collaborating with their team, taking ownership, and being a problem solver. Some other things to think about before beginning your semester in your gymnasium would include transition signals. Are you going to use music? Are you going to use a whistle? Are you going to use a clap or a certain signal of that sort? I use the whistle most when teaching because I don't always have music playing or access to music if I'm outside. I just find that the whistle works for me. The second thing is your grouping. You can do a random generated via the computer. I use a program called KeemK. It's a really great website. It really helps with just a randomizer when you're trying to make teams. You can do a teacher selected, making the teams yourself, or you can have students make their own teams. This really depends on your class dynamics. Some of my classes I use KeemK or purposely select teams. My classes right now are able to make their own teams because I feel that sometimes it just helps with compliance and it makes them more likely to participate when they are playing with friends. Some other things to think about include your equipment setup and cleanup. How are you going to organize it? How will you hand out equipment? How will you get equipment back in? Are you going to let the students do it? Will you be the one to do it? Will you have stuff laying out already ready to go? All things that you need to kind of think about. This again will depend on your class dynamics and if you have a set expectation for equipment retrieval and cleanup. Another thing to really kind of think about are what are you going to do with your non-participants? In an ideal world, every student would be participating 100% all the time, but you may have some students that are sick or are injured, or they just don't want to participate. So what are you going to do with those students? Injured students or excused students can be given roles, scorekeeper and equipment helper and that kind of idea. Students choosing not to participate can be given an alternative assignment. So I've provided just a small little one off to the right. It's just a little packet on badminton that I have students do that are kind of choosing to not participate for the day. You could also have them walk the perimeter of the gym or the field or some other type of activity. Again, this is just based on your personal preference and kind of what you vision your PE program to be. Thank you so much for watching this video. I do appreciate it. I hope you found this information helpful and applicable to your classroom. I have provided my contact information if you have any questions,